Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about some images. Let's go ahead and, if you've downloaded that already, please go ahead and download that. Pause the video until then. And let's go into web105 using images and select this one. Alright. So, it looks like we have some CSS, some images, and an index. So I'm going to open up the index and the style sheet, and then go ahead and close that off. So what we have right now is we're going to deal with some background images, an image map, which I'll show you, floating left, floating right, a picture tag, linked images, and image as a link. So let's go ahead and get started. We are all linked up with our style sheet here, but let's look at background images. So let's go on to W3 Schools, which is our book. We're into HTML images. So what we have here is an example. Right here we have a source, which is an src command, and then an alt. This is used for ADA purposes if you're hearing impaired, or not hearing impaired, but seeing impaired, and or your picture doesn't load. They have an idea of what this is supposed to be. If you notice, there is no ending tag down here for the image tag. So it is one of the tags that actually does not have an end. So we have an example, a couple examples here. Let's go down. We have information for styling in here, and also a hard width and a hard height in here. This right here and this right here is not used very regularly because they do want to put a lot of this stuff inside the external style sheet. So these are basically handled a lot differently, but they are there. Alright. We're going to learn about images in another folder. Some animated images as a link down in here. We're going to basically go ahead and deal with some floating images. And that's pretty much what we're going to do. There is some background images here and picture elements on the side. So the first one is our background image. So we're going to look at a background image and figure out what to do with it. So let's get started. All right. So the first thing we have here is a background. And we don't have to do anything here because we're going to go into the CSS. So the first thing I look at in here is that there's a bunch of information here, but we need to make sure that we find out where we're kind of going. So we're going to add a body here, and we're going to use a background image. So we're going to use it in a div, which is in a class called background image, and the body itself. So we can come in here and start typing background. A lot of this information here is what you can do in the background, and what the background is going to be the background of our body tag. So we're going to have a background image. Now, to find our images, I can't just start typing images here because there is nothing here. So it's going to take a URL, and once again, I can't type images here because it's not going to come up. Why? Because if we're here, we're inside our CSS document, and we need to get inside our images. So we have to go up a level and then into images and down. This is called a relative path to where you want to go, or where you are relatively to where you want to go, I guess is a better way to explain it. So we have to go up a directory, which puts us in CSS. So it's index CSS, so that puts us back right here. And then we can go into images, and then the Aurora Borealis. So that's what happens. That's how you have to make sure that where it's relative to that position of where this file is. So the next thing I want to go ahead and do is do a repeat. What a repeat is that if it's an image smaller or anything else like that, it basically would keep repeating, filling up the background. Well, we don't want any repeating here. So the next thing we want to go ahead and do is the background, and then we have the attachment. Now the background attachment, and we're going to go fixed because we're going to do a fixed screen so it doesn't move. And finally, the background sizing. Now, there's an auto. Basically, it just treats it as 100% both ways. A contain contains this inside of the container, and a cover covers all bases, basically, right there. So we're going to use cover, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And let's start this up and see where we're at. Alright, let me get this situated right here. And I'll hit Control B. We'll go ahead and do that. So our Aurora Borealis is right there. You look at it, it does not scroll. It is a fixed, fixed image here. If we actually do a scroll and hit save, what will happen is that starts at the top and scrolls with it. See how there's just the sky here and then scrolls down. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do our fixed and hit save, and then we'll actually see it there. So that's one of the ways. Now what we're going to do is look at this. We have a class. A class is a good way to add CSS in the background, basically, or it's an easy way to say, hey, anything inside of this div statement here, we're going to use this class to identify it. So what is a div statement real quick? Let's do a side note here. A div is nothing more than a quote-unquote divider, or somewhere where you can take a section of code and make it together or put it together. So that's what we're going to deal with. Now, how do we have this? We have some div information here, but this is the class, and it's really nice when you're back here because it says element class. Well, elements can be anything. H1, H2, div, span. That's an element tag that way. So it's an element here, and then it has the class background. So everything that has a class background is going to be affected by anything we put in here. So we need to, let's do this. I'm going to you don't need to see me type this stuff again. Right. And let's change this, images, and we'll do tree. And I'll hit save. Okay, so you can actually see it. It's over here. It's not very good with everything in here because you just can't see enough of the picture. So what we can do, we can say height or minimum height and just make this 500 pixels. Once again, 500 pixels is nothing more than 5 periods type. So there's 5 would be 500. Okay, so you can see a little bit more of this. It's not really good. Let's take a peek at contain. That looks good. So it contains it within there, and that's what that does. All right. So this is the background image. Image map. I'm going to show you what it is. An image map is, you take a picture such as this, and then you're going to basically draw squares around, like the laptop, a square around the phone, and a circle around the coffee or the hot chocolate here. And then based on that, you're going to click these areas, and then you would actually go to a web page. It works like this. So you have your image here, and it says use map work map. And then you have work map here, and then you define your shapes. And then the assignment, you'll actually see a website to be able to do this. So that's what I want you to go ahead and do. So they have the coordinates, the alt, and then this right here is the anchor tag, or href basically, that where it's going to go. Okay, so that's an image map. I'm not going to play around with that too much. They're very rarely used, but they're kind of fun to kind of go through. The reason why is that they're not very good at responsive design. All right. So the nice part about the next is we're going to start talking about floats. Okay, so let's go ahead and start looking on the float left. So we're going to add a couple things to the float left. And I'm going to use something called lorem ipsum. I'm going to show you a command you can do to get this done. So I need, or emit command, I need a paragraph of lorem ipsum. Now lorem ipsum is a magazine markup thing that doesn't mean anything. It just puts words together so that there's words in place. They use it in magazines and layout, seeing how much space they want to leave for words or text in a certain area. So if I do this and I hit tab, it actually is going to give me a paragraph of stuff. Now you'll notice I have a very dark background. Depending on what picture you have, you might need to change this. And the easiest way to go is go back to the body, type in a color, and antique white is fine. So if I hit save, now I have nice antique white. Alright, so the next thing I need to go ahead and do is get an image in here. So I'll hit enter and type img and hit tab. Now there is a source, and this is the source for the image, and of course the alt. So let's get in here and type in images, and bicycle sounds good. This is a bike. All right, so by default, it's just going to put it right here. What we're going to do is float it over to the left and go from there. So we're going to come in here, our CSS, and come over to the class that's image float. See, this one says class image float, and that is this one right here. So that statement is going to affect this line, and this line. All right, so let's take a peek here. We want to make sure that, do we want to float the text over there and everything else, or just the picture? Just the picture, right? So we can't start adding anything here. What we want to do is just take this picture. So we have an element, class float left, and then an image. So how do we just do that? What we tell you is type img after it. And what this does, I'm going to put my mouse over this. It says element, class, and then image. This part right here looks a lot like this right here, and then image. So it says take the class, float left, and then look for an image. If there's an image, apply this, everything in here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we are left. So we type in float left, save. Okay, oh, broke everything. And that is fine. That floats normally do that. And let's do a quick width of 40%. And then I can scroll down. So it's still outside of this. So this right here is the box I want to keep everything in. So in order to keep everything in this box, there's a couple things. What this is called is overflow. Overflow is basically it's outside the box. It's like water, and the water can't hold it inside that container anymore, and it flows over the side. So what we need to go ahead and do is jump all the way up to our div and header area. Right, so if it's a header or a div, I need to do some things here. The first thing I want to do is type in overflow, and you can overflow the y-axis or the x-axis. These are typical, or just normal an auto with an overflow, and I hit save. What that is going to do is put the entire picture inside, and that is exactly what is needed. The next thing is that, do you see how all of this, let's zoom in here a little bit. Do you see how this is right on the edge here? We don't want that. So what we need to do is put some padding. Now, when you're deciding whether you want padding or margin, margin goes on the outside of the box here, and padding goes on the inside. So you want to use padding. We're just going to put in a 20 pixel padding. See how it makes a nice little gap around here? That's perfect. Okay, so what I want you to do is try that down here. So let's look at a picture tag next and how we do that. So a picture tag is basically this is typing picture. There are picture tag which just uses different images depending on what size of the screen. So we're going to use this a lot probably when we get more into responsive design. Whoop. I do want to teach you about it while we're dealing with some images. Let me pull this up on our W3 Schools. Alright. Images, and here's the picture element. So what are we dealing with? So this is a pretty good representation. So when you view something on a laptop, it views this picture. When you view it on a tablet, it views this picture. And when you're on a phone, you use this picture. How does that work? Well, it uses this media command. And we'll get into the media command a lot later. So if it is, the minimum width is 640, use this picture. If the minimum width is 600 or 465, use this picture, else just use this picture. So the easiest way is just to copy this over and paste this in. Now we don't actually have anything else like that, but let's look and just replace these. So, image. Alright. Images, and then dogs. Let's go with dogs. So, yes, it doesn't have the nice, whatchamacallits, JPG. It does not have all the nice little things here. There's no automatic down to help you out here, so you're just going to have to type it in. And then let's go with cat JPG. And let's hit save. So there's the dog. So if I make this, I make this bigger. Let's see. That's dogs. Is there a cat? 465 images cat. Let me get this one in here. Images. Let's just put workplace and hit save. Okay. So I'm going to maximize this. And let's take a peek. So I'm going to inspect, and this is the easiest way to do this. Inside of this is Chrome. If I hit inspect, it allows me to use some dimensions up here. So if I use a laptop, it's here. Let's see, tablet. That's a mobile. Doesn't like the second one. There it is. It's just a little off on the dimensions right there, but that's basically what happens. So when your screen changes like this, you get to a dog, now you're a cat, now you have your headphones in your workplace. Okay, so that's basically what that picture command does. All right, I think this is the one I want. Yep. All right, let me get this out of the way. All right, so we have a picture. That's perfect. So we have to go with the next two. What is a linked image, and why do we need to do this? Well, a linked image is an image from another source. So if I go into Google and say, hey, go ahead and search for puppies, and then look at images, there's a bunch of stuff here. Now, we're going to use things in, okay, Fluffball is as cute as anything here. We can kind of right-click on this and copy the image address. And then what we're going to do is link an image. So we type in our image, and in our source, we're not putting images anymore. We're actually putting in this giant URL. All right, so he's a fluff ball. So I'm going to hit save, and we'll come through here, and boom, there's our little fluff ball sitting right there. That's a linked image. Now, the last one is image as a link. So we need to use two tags in conjunction with one another to get this to work. So we need an anchor tag, and inside that anchor tag is an image tag. So a greater than image is our emit command to do all this, or you can literally just type in the anchor tag and go from there. So if I say, let's go to google.com, and I can use either an image like this, or I can use something for my images. Let's go with workplace, and I'm going to stick just a power thing here, make a nice thing here. I'm going to hit save. Now I come up here and there's an image, but you notice my cursor changes. See, there's an arrow here, and now it is a hand click, because when I click it, it actually wants to go to Google. Now, why didn't it go to Google? Well, you need an https:// and hit save. So when I do that, now it goes to Google. Okay. So that's the assignment. Go ahead and get started on it. Try your best, learn a little bit on W3 Schools, and try to do what you can in here. Good luck.